you doing? All right. I hope everybody's keeping cool, keeping hydrated, right? All right. It's important that we, especially these 110, 14, 15 degree days, we keep ourselves hydrated. So again, there's water, there's soda over there. So we're going to call the meeting to order here. And Janice, our Vice President, is going to lead the Pledge of Allegiance and say a couple of things beyond that.
Hi, everybody. Are we enjoying the summer heat? Yeah. Okay. Let's stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, welcome. Are there any new members here tonight? Raise your hand, don't be shy. Okay. Stand up, say your name. You? Okay, where you from? No snow. Just keep focusing on that. No snow. Right. Next. Stand up. Okay, where you from? And where? Reno. Okay. Scotland. Okay, who else? I saw some other hands.
Hi, Judy Sachs. I've been to the meetings a few times, but I finally joined tonight.
Good girl. All right, very nice. Come on, stand up. I want that necklace. We have to talk.
And I'm from Orange Valley, California.
Nice. Anyone else from here? Did I see a hand go up? Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Well, welcome. We are very appreciative that you joined. Keep in mind that we videotape our meeting every month and we put it on the website. This way people will know verbatim what is said. They can't make up anything because it's public knowledge. Okay. Any questions about that? So get ready to volunteer because there's 2,000 homes. Okay. We have our speakers tonight. We have Dan Cullen from the Board of Elections, and I think we're going to go right into No. Okay. The real boss has something to say. All right, come over here.
Okay, first I have an announcement to make, okay? One, we are going to be having our elections in November. They'll be printed in the link and everything else like that. I am not going to run for president again next year. But Janice is going to run for president. I am going to run for vice president. Okay? So we're going to do a little voting here. But if anybody here wants to go against Janice or myself or whatever, it's open. Ellen Bachman, who just had some surgery, she's in the hospital, wasn't able to be here tonight. But 2 weeks before our November elections, and it's on November 2nd, we're going to be in this room, that room, because this room here is where the voting machines are going to be set up with Dan and everybody else like that. Okay, so for our November 2nd meeting, because we're only going to have half of the room, and it's going to be that room for our November 2nd meeting, which will be the day before the elections. One of the things we really want to do in these coming months here is to organize people and get people motivated to go out and vote. A lot of times people don't vote in the off-year elections or whatever else like that. We want to make sure that we are able to provide rides to people and everything else like that. Okay, regarding our elections, we also have the other positions that are open, all right? So every position, and this is part of the association rules, every position has to be voted on, and if we're unopposed, then it's by acclamation, you know, so that's the way it usually goes. But if anybody wants to take responsibility, and please, we would love other people to become involved and take more of a part next year, all righty? Or this year, for that matter of fact. All right, I have a little presentation here. So I put this out in an email. But this is when, a couple of years ago, I was in Washington for the American Nurses Association. And this is Lincoln, and what Lincoln looks at is the reflecting pond. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful, okay? And, you know, I mean, I really focus in on this reflecting pool thing because the man who is responsible for muffing it up there, okay, don't use the word, you know. It's amazing to me, he cannot make a mistake or admit that he made a mistake. And he's trying to bamboozle a canoeist, an Olympic canoeist into taking the fall guy for this thing and everything else like that, and changing the blame and everything. And it's almost like there are some people who, if Trump would say the sky is green and grass is blue, they would say, yes, yeah, okay, you know. They'll change their mind because they revere this man so much. To me, it's amazing. But anyway, he cannot make a mistake or admit to making this. He made a mistake. Yes, I was wrong about that. And that's a real pathology thing. Because you know what? You, me, everybody has made mistakes in life. And what do we learn from? You make a mistake, you don't do it again, hopefully, okay, if you learn from that mistake. But if you never say, I've made a mistake, you don't learn. And that's a part of the problem with the man. Come on, get over it. All right. That's a suitcase filled with $100 bills. That's $1 million. Okay? Well, you know, we lose track of the aliens when you say $1 million versus $1 billion. What's $1 billion look like? Okay? If you would take 1,000 of these suitcases and put it in a shipping container, that's what $1 billion looks like. Okay? That's the difference. So when somebody says 15 million versus 2 billion, there's a whole big difference there, okay? So that is $1 billion. Now here you have Trump, who, since he became president, has earned over $2 billion. That's 2 of those shipping containers filled with $100 bills, okay? Since he became his president. And God knows how much his family and Eric and Don Jr. and Barron and everybody else made. I showed a cartoon last meeting, actually 2 months ago. We didn't have a meeting in July. And it was a cartoon that my dad drew when I was in my mom, 1949, I was still in my mom's womb when he drew that. This is the red baiting thing that has been going on and on and on, actually much before my birthday, 77 years ago. It's been going on for 100 years or more. All right, this is a cartoon he drew in the 60s. If the red issue dies, we'll have to go back to kissing babies for votes. And also Red Menace. This is a pattern that has gone on over and over and over again. And why? Because the billionaires and now trillionaires, okay? When you talk about $1 trillion, all right? What is $1 trillion? All right? You take 1,000 of those shipping containers filled with $100 bills and now you have $1 trillion. So when somebody says $1 trillion versus $1 billion, just understand the difference in the amount that it is there. All right. Yeah, well, I mean, it's red baited. My dad was red baited. I got stories. I don't want to put it on microphone here, but sometimes if you want, I'll tell you. But exclusive, Musk plans massive push for the GOP in midterms. Okay, he's going to invest billions of his dollars into into promoting Republican candidates. It didn't work in Wisconsin when he put $15 million in for the Supreme Court race back then. But, there's a lot of money that's going to be coming out. And unfortunately, in our state here, Lombardo, it has the backing of billions of dollars in money from Adelson and from other places. Not billions, excuse me, hundreds of millions of dollars from Adelson and other people like that are the rich. Not like you, me, or anything else like that. We're all hopefully doing okay. But, when you think of what $1 million is versus $1 billion versus Musk with $1 trillion, and we've seen the ads. How many, I'm sure everybody's seen the ads against Ford, right? He supports crime and drug addiction and everything. And then, last thing here, there's that ad that says, oh, Newsom supports Ford. That is paid for by Lombardo. Okay, that is a Lombardo ad. And you've got to go down to read the Nevada thing there. Anyway, we have Dan from the Board of Elections and Ashley. They are nonpartisan. So if somebody from the Conservative Club or Republicans and they have a date and time available, they'll speak to that club too. They are not here to promote any candidate or anything else like that. I need to make that clear. I want to make that clear for you guys, that you're not saying because, we are the Liberal Club here supporting our certain candidates. Dan is not. Dan, you want to come on up here and talk a little bit about the elections? Because as far as I understand, your goal is to get as many people as possible to exercise their right to vote, no matter which way they vote for, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having us. My name is Dan. I work at the election department. I'm here with Ashley, who also works at the election department. So, I'm sorry. She's going to speak first and give you guys kind of a run through of the department a little bit and how you guys can help us. I know that some of you worked during the primary election, and thank you very much. You guys are the best, and hopefully pretty much all of you can work in the next election. But I'm going to hand it over to Ashley, and then we will take some questions from you folks, and so hold on to them until we're done with our little speech, and then we'll be ready to take any questions you give us, okay?
Can you hear me okay? Test it out. All right, thank you for having us. And there was a picture of Dan and some members from our team who came to visit the group not too long ago. For those of you who were here, just maybe you remember we brought the voting equipment to show you all. Wonderful. And how many of you voted during the primary and saw our new equipment in person? Wonderful. That's great. Yeah. So like we said, we're with the Clark County Election Department. Thank you for the intro. Our job is, we're election administrators. Our job is to make sure everyone has the ability to vote and to make it as easy and accessible as possible as we can for you all. Okay. I'll keep working on it. So we have 1.5 million registered voters here in Clark County. We administer all of the in-person voting experience for all of the Clark County registered voters. That also includes sending everybody, unless they have opted out, a mail ballot as well. We at the department, we're a pretty small team with 1.5 million registered voters. Dan and I have a department together of 52 people that we work with. And we're 6 divisions. The 6 divisions vary from IT support to what I work on in training and recruitment, our warehouse division, our registrations division, which manages our voter rolls and maintaining all of that. And our mail ballot team as well. I wrote some notes on my pages here. All right, so what I want to jump to is all of you know we just ended the primary election. All of you voted in this room, so I thank you all. I just wanted to give you a little bit of our turnout numbers from the 2026 primary. We had a total of 276,494 people vote in the primary, which was only 18.29% of our registered voters. Primary elections are always tough. The general elections are always a little bit more sexier, but of the people who came out to vote, I would say about half of them came to vote in person, and then the other half voted by mail. So a little bit about what Dan and I do, but for me in particular, my job is to oversee the training and recruitment division, which is the division that is responsible for recruiting and training election workers to support us during the election. We have over 130 voting sites during any given election that we have to staff, which requires probably 4,000 people to support us. By a show of hands, has anyone ever been a poll worker before? Wonderful, thank you. Well, we're always recruiting. We actually just started our training of election workers today. So we will be training 6 days a week, all the way up until the start of early voting, to get people trained up and ready to run a voting site. So thank you for all of you who have worked with us, and we hope to encourage you to continue working with us. And we are, let's see, what else did I miss? Okay, so trick question, not a trick question, but I'm testing all of you. When does early voting start? Someone shout out, when does early voting start here in Clark County? We're in Nevada. October 17th. It's a Saturday. Woohoo, close. So early voting is October 17th through October 30th. If you don't know this, especially for, I heard there are some people that are maybe relatively new residents to Clark County, during early voting and on election day, you can vote at any voting site. Anywhere that you see in Clark County, you can vote at. That's a little bit unique from other jurisdictions in other states or counties because they have precinct-based voting. So you have to vote in the area or community in which you live. That's not the case in Clark County. You see a voting site at your, at here. We have one here, actually. You can vote anywhere. And then election day, of course, is on November 3rd. Did I miss anything? All right. I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to cover anything, and then we'll do Q&A.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can jump into questions, and if we think, yes, sir.
Are you taking any additional steps to make sure that somebody at the little room isn't screening the mail-in ballots and screening the mail? Taking any extra steps to
So the question was, are we doing anything to make sure people don't screen mail-in ballots? Is that extra steps? So all of our mail-in ballots that come back to us are always handled by multiple workers, multiple staff, and they are from, multiple parties, right? We have kind of many steps in the process. We have containers that are sealed, right? We log the seals when the containers are empty, put the envelopes, people put the envelopes in, for example, at a polling place. We don't break the seals until we get them back to the office. It's broken by, a room full of people that are staff workers. We're processing the mail ballots. So I hope that kind of answers your question. We basically are always doing all of our mail ballot processing. I'll just add this on too. all of our mail ballot processes are observable. And so at the Clark County Election Department, our main office where we do all of the processing of mail ballots, anyone from the public can come in and watch. They can watch the containers come into the building, watch them get opened, watch them get sorted. Every step of the way is observable. And we recently had a pretty significant renovation or tenant improvement, we call it, to our building that creates a hallway for the observers. And so over the years, we've had tons of people come in and just kind of watch us do everything. The parties usually have folks come in and observe too. So not only do we kind of do everything in a way that we're logging things and tracking things as they come through each step, but we also have observers.
Dan, can you talk about if somebody needs help filling out the ballot? Can we help them?
So voters are allowed to have someone help them with their ballot. That can be in person or on the mail ballot. On the mail ballot, your ballot comes with very specific instructions. Depending on how much help or how someone helps another voter would depend on sort of where you sign things and how you fill everything out. You just need to make sure that you follow the directions that are in there. If you're voting in person, the voter has to be the one that asks for assistance, but both of those are acceptable in the ballot.
I have the microphone, so raise your hand, I'll come over. Come on, we've got questions, we do. All you gotta do is watch the news at night, you know we've got
Yes, ma'am.
questions.
Oh, I can talk more.
Hi, my name is Chris. I was a poll worker in the primary. I intend to be a poll worker in the fall as well. And what I was curious about was, could you walk us through, now I know that in a tabulating machine, it collects the paper ballots, and there's also an SD card that collects the data. Could you walk us through the chain of custody and control? What happens to that SD card and the data that's on it?
Sure. So I'm gonna, and I apologize, I didn't repeat my friend's question over here before, but did everyone hear the question, or is it helpful if I repeat it? Okay, so the question was basically, for everyone who voted in person, right? You know how you printed out the ballot, and then you went over to the tabulator, which is the new equipment, really, and put that in there. The question is, sort of how do we track chain of custody and everything having to do with that vote, right? First, thank you for being a poll worker. And as was mentioned, when you scan your ballot into the tabulator, the information goes onto an SD card. The paper is also kept inside that tabulator, right? We use that for audits later, where we can compare the paper to what's on the electronic copy, the SD card. He was specifically asking about chain of custody with the SD cards. So when the SD cards go out, they go out in a sealed container. We track the seal numbers. There's always at least 2 people that are opening and closing that container. Those folks are the ones that are putting the cards into the machine. Each machine, they'll be doing one into each one, say during early voting. At the end of each day, they're removing one of the cards. Again, it's 2 people doing that job. They're putting it back into the container that they seal. They're signing what we call a transfer case certificate. They're basically just logging the seal numbers, how many of the SD cards they put in into the container. They're bringing it back to the election department. There's always 2 people riding together in the vehicle. They're handing it off to staff at the election department. Again, the seals are checked. Everything is double and triple checked when things are open. And then the SD card itself is then put into the tabulation system, basically, where the data is downloaded and stored, and then later counted. So I'm thinking through kind of how early voting works, right? Election day is similar, although of course it's counted much faster, or sooner. In Nevada, like everywhere else, you don't release any results until election night. So, does that answer your question? Good. Yes.
Yeah, we have another question.
I have a question. I'll be loud.
Okay.
Can you confirm that no machine is ever attached to the internet?
Okay, so the question is whether I can confirm that there's no machine that's ever attached to the internet, okay? So the tabulation system, the tabulator, where the SD cards go into to download the votes and all that sort of thing, those, you have to think of it like closed circuit TV. None of that is ever connected to the internet. Now, for those of you that vote in person, which I think as many of you, you know that the first thing you do when you go into the polling place is sign in, right? Hi, I'm John Smith. This is my address. A lot of people hand the poll worker their driver's license, that sort of thing. That iPad is connected to our registration database. IT people who are a lot smarter than I am refer to it as like a tunnel, right? The reason why that has to be connected to our database is, let's say John Smith votes here in the morning, and 20 minutes later tries to vote at, Rainbow Library or Meadows Mall or something like that. Our system is set up to not allow that to happen. Now, all that equipment is not even connected to each other, right? You sign in, you get your vote card, you vote on the very large touch screen, right? All that equipment is not connected to anything. It's not even connected to each other. It prints out a piece of paper, which looks like a full-size mail ballot. Again, none of that's connected to anything, and then you're putting it into the tabulator. So if you think of it like closed-circuit TV, that's kind of the easiest way for me to understand it. Yes?
In the scenario where junior and senior live in the same house, they both have mail-in ballots, junior moves out of state, keeps his Nevada driver's license. How do you make sure that senior does not fill out both of those ballots?
Okay. Excuse me. So the question is, father, son, same name, junior, senior. They once shared a house. Junior has moved away. How do we make sure that senior doesn't vote twice? So first, I would say that you're accusing senior of committing a felony. Secondly, I would say that there should be steps in the process that make it so that we don't send junior a mail ballot, right? We have partnerships basically with other states where if junior registers to vote somewhere else or in another county in Nevada, we should become aware of that, and that would start the process of junior not getting that mail ballot in the first place. We also have, signature verification, right? So if you sign my mail ballot and it doesn't really look like my signature, it's going to get caught in that system.
Is it tied to the driver's license still?
So most of the signatures that we get do come from the DMV. We basically get signatures from, let's say you register to vote by filling out a form, right? That would be a signature that we have. Anytime that you go to the DMV or have business with a handful of other state agencies, those signatures are sent to us also. Signature verification is the law of the land, and I will say that it's pretty accurate. I mean, it's my signature might not be the same every single time I sign, but my D's and K's, the first letters in my first and last name, are pretty similar, pretty spot on. Now, let's say that I'm really bad at signing it's going to go to what we call the cure process, right? But those signatures are evaluated multiple times as they come in, and most of the signatures are reviewed by a bipartisan team. So I was looking around to see if I noticed anyone who might have worked in signature verification, but so basically Ashley and I, if we're not of the same political party, we could be a team that's evaluating signatures together, that sort of thing. So there is kind of a stringent process for those signatures to go through on top of everything else. But I would say, in my mind, the most likely scenario is that Junior doesn't receive a mail ballot. I'll work my way this way.
I was always voter.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I mail it, sometimes I carry it to the
I'll repeat it.
Sorry about that. Are early votes, whether by mail or in person, counted as they come in, or do they all wait for election day?
So the question was more or less, when do we count votes that are cast early, either in person during early voting or received ahead of election day in the mail? We do process those votes, but we do not do anything that would tell us how many votes certain candidates got. But we would be able to tell you, for example, how many mail ballot envelopes we received that day, how many people went to vote at Galleria Mall that day. But we don't add up. And in fact, I believe that would be illegal. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So, we have all been hearing on the news that the Trump administration has said that if the states do not hand over their voter rolls, that the post office will not mail ballots out to anyone in any state who has not handed over the voter rolls. True, not true, lawsuit, what's going to happen?
So the question is basically whether or not something is going on at the federal level that would prevent someone who was mailed a mail ballot from receiving a mail ballot. My understanding is that that has not been the kind of thing that's done working its way through proposals, court challenges, whatever might happen. I don't think that there is, that the scenario that you're describing is something that is now expected to happen, right? I think there definitely would be legal challenges. That's not really our role. I mean, our role is to try to make it so that everyone has the opportunity to vote. So, I mean, I can't give you the best answer for that, but you know, we're not really.
So you don't know if it's going on the flagpole yet?
I mean, I would really be surprised if something like that was to make it farther down the road. I think there would be legal challenges that we would all be extremely well aware of, and you know.
Okay, next, where am I? Sarah.
So when you do encounter a problem, like for example, a missing signature, or the tabulator has a paper jam, or there's a hanging chat of ballots, can you describe the procedures and the steps you take when you encounter that case?
So the question actually had maybe a couple of different questions in there. I'll try to take them all, but you can let me know if I forget one or two of them. The first question was, what happens if I forget to sign my mail ballot, more or less? So if you send in your mail ballot and you don't sign it, we will send you a letter. If we have your phone number, we will call you. If we have your email, we will email you. We will also text you, and we will keep doing the emails and the phone calls and the texts each day until we hear from you. To give you the opportunity to do what we call curing your ballot. And there's a process for that. It's not extremely difficult, but it does ask you for some personal, identifying information. And so if you send it in and you forget to sign it, we reach out to you. And in fact, your name is put on a list that's put on our website. And as far as I know, or my experience, is that there are some political parties and organizations that will comb those lists, and they might also reach out to you also to encourage you to do that. Your next question was what happens
In case there's a tabulator error, like you have a paper jam or something.
if there's a paper jam for in-person voting? Or,
There's an error that occurs in the machine. What
okay.
does your team do?
So the question is what happens if there's some sort of mechanical malfunction while we are scanning ballots, right? To oversimplify it, each batch, as we scan them, they don't get recorded or saved, so to speak, until there's kind of a clean run. So if we're scanning 100 and for some reason only 99 come through, well, sometimes the 100th is, we need to throw that through so that we can get an accurate count. Because we know how many we're putting in. Does that kind of answer what you were asking?
Your team will stop and examine the error.
Yes.
Rerun
Yeah,
it back.
we'll stop, examine the error, we'll try to research why it happened, and correct it. Because we want to make sure that everyone's ballot gets counted.
What about the case where you have a ballot that, let's say, appears to be open, what's damaged?
So the question was, what do we do if we get a damaged ballot, more or less? So if you vote by mail ballot, and let's say that your ballot gets ripped, or you spill coffee all over it, there's something wrong with it that would get in the way of it getting scanned cleanly. We have bipartisan teams, so again, two people, they can't be of the same political party, that will take your damaged ballot and they will create a new one that has all of the contests and how you voted on all those contests, right? Now this is a few steps removed from when we take your ballot out of the envelope. So the people that are doing the duplication, they have no way of tying it back to a specific voter. But what they do is they take the damaged ballot and we put a number on it, and we have the new ballot, the one that was created so that it can be run through, and we tie those two together. So that if for any reason us, a judge, anyone said, hey, go look at all the ones that were duplicated, or we have a question about something, we can go back and we can compare the damaged one to the one that was created. But again, it's a bipartisan team, and they have to agree that that the duplicate matches the original.
I was just going to talk about voting in person. So if there was ever a jam while you were printing your ballot, or you went to the tabulator and the tabulator wouldn't scan your ballot, we have processes in place. All of our equipment will tell us what the problem is, and the voter is there. We're walking them through the process, and we have many systems in place to ensure that you can still get your vote cast. And then on the mail ballot front too, I just wanted to highlight that you can also track your mail ballot on our website. All you need is your voter registration information, so your name, your date of birth, and you can see where it is in the process. It periodically will change depending on the life of where your envelope is at. Also, the mail ballot looked a little bit different this year, and it'll probably look like this moving forward, but there is a place for you to put your phone number on your mail ballot. That doesn't, on your envelope, when you return your mail ballot. That is just for our use in the event that we had to contact you because there was an issue. Again, we're contacting you in whatever means that we have. So if we only have your mailing address, no email or no phone number, you're getting something in the snail mail. So that would be the best way for us to have your information to solve any other issues.
And just to add on, just make sure that we're all on the same page here. Don't put your phone number on your actual mail ballot. We say mail ballot a lot when we mean mail ballot envelope. It's just kind of how we're talking to each other sometimes. But it's on the mail ballot envelope that Ashley's talking about. There's a line for you to put your phone number. So if we don't already have it, we have a way to contact you.
Sorry, one last one. What if someone's mark on the ballot is unclear? It's not clear where they intended to put the mark or what happens.
So the question was, what happens if you fill out a mail ballot and you don't do a very good job of coloring in the bubble, basically, or there's a mark that is somewhere on the ballot that may or may not be in the bubble. So in our world, that would go to what we call adjudication, which is a jargony word for, again, a bipartisan team. So two people sitting next to each other. The state law actually is very clear on how to deal with this kind of situation. And it's very much, is the bubble, colored in or not, right? And again, those two folks have to agree on whether or not the voter correctly colored in the bubble or not. It would be just an issue with that one contest, right? So let's say there's an issue with the, mayor of Las Vegas contest and whether or not you filled out the bubble correctly, but you voted perfectly in the 60 other contests on the ballot. The only one that's going to be in question is that mayor one. So,
Next one.
Yes, sir.
I've been hearing that in New Jersey, they had about 400 people that were non-citizens that wound up on the voting roll. As a professional in the field, any insights into how that could have happened? And also, you want to just tell us briefly what you do here to prevent that from happening?
So the question was basically if I'm familiar with what happened in New Jersey with some folks who are not citizens getting on the voting rolls, and how do we feel about that, or what do we do about that here? So what I can tell you is that whenever anyone registers to vote, first of all, you're swearing under penalty of perjury, and it's a felony if you're lying, that you are a citizen. On top of that, we send all of our new registrations to the state. It goes to the federal government. I believe it's Social Security and a couple other agencies that it bounces off of. So there are checks to try to make sure that everyone who's signing up to register to vote is a citizen. But it kind of starts with that question for folks about, are you kind of swearing that you are, and if you're not, you shouldn't be registering to vote. But there are those additional checks also. I'm not sure how they do things in New Jersey. I think they blamed it on a glitch, but.
I'm just concerned that they may make it harder for people to register because they now have an example of voter fraud, if you want to call it that.
It wasn't really a question, but what the gentleman said was that he's concerned that it'll now be harder for folks to register to vote. So.
I have a question. First of all, I drop box my ballot. So is that considered a mail-in ballot?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the percentage of people who drop box as opposed to going into the post office and going through the postal system? And do you have any concerns that the postal system will be holding up any of the ballots so that they won't be delivered in time or marked in time?
So the question was, when you go to a voting site and you have your mail ballot that you filled out that you voted with, and you put it in the mail ballot drop box, is that voted by mail ballot? The answer is yes. The other question was basically how many folks use our drop boxes at our voting sites versus the U.S. mail. In 2024, rough estimate, because I haven't looked at this for a while, but 2/3-ish folks use the US mail. So we still had a large number or a large percentage of more who were voting by mail who were putting it in through the US mail. We do get a significant number of envelopes, of mail ballot envelopes at our voting sites. You know, if we're still getting a third-ish, maybe a little bit more, in a busy general election, that's still well over 100,000, right? Which is a lot. So, or my math might be off. It might be even more. The last part of your question was whether we're worried about the U.S. mail delivering things to us on time. You know, I would say that I'm always worried about something that, you know, I guess you shouldn't worry about things that aren't in your control. But I'm always worried that a voter is not going to be able to vote for no fault of their own. That's why we have mail ballot drop boxes at all of our sites. You know, there are a large number of people that, for whatever reason, they prefer bringing their mail ballot to the election department. We also go to the post office every single day on election day. We go multiple times. We have a really great working relationship with our local post office folks, and they really, you know, search high and low for every mail ballot envelope that they might have gotten in to make sure that we have everything. So, you know, really it's our job just to make sure that however you're going to vote, you know, we're getting it and we're processing it correctly and counting it. But certainly, I think we're all concerned and want to make sure that everyone's vote gets counted. That's why we're there.
I've worked the last 3 elections, and there are a number of people that I've worked with who are not working this election because they say ICE is going to be hanging out in parking lots. Somebody's going to throw a pipe bomb into a bush in Nome, Alaska. And Trump is going to say there's a national emergency and we have to have the National Guard at every voting place. Are these kind of things deterring recruitment of poll workers here in Clark County?
So the question was, I'm going to oversimplify it and you tell me if you're okay with it. Are we worried that federal law enforcement or other federal officers will show up at polling places? And then also, are we worried that that's affecting our ability to recruit poll workers? Is it making people afraid to come work? So it would be a violation of federal law for federal law enforcement to show up at a voting site. We have really good lawyers, and we've talked to our federal partners. We have a really great relationship with local law enforcement, you know, all levels of law enforcement here in Las Vegas and in Nevada. And what I would tell you is that we really don't expect that sort of thing would happen because the law is pretty clear. If we have a reason to need law enforcement at a site, we call local law enforcement. So Metro Police, Henderson Police, North Las Vegas Police. They show up, they provide the assistance that we ask them to, you know, the reason why we ask them to come over, and then they leave. And they're very sensitive, right, to any sorts of criticism, very aware, I would say, right? So I guess that's my long way of saying that I personally don't expect that issue would come up on the federal side. And if it did, I think that very quickly a lot of people at a lot of levels would be going, you know, would be taking legal actions to deal with that.
How's recruiting going this year?
So I would say that recruiting is going well. I mean, for those of you that have worked at polling places, you know that we take the security of our polling places very seriously, poll workers and voters alike. All of our voting sites have staff that have buttons that they can the press and the police show up in minutes or less, very much like teachers have here in the school district. We have, like I said, a very good relationship with law enforcement. We meet with them regularly leading up to elections to make sure we're all on the same page about what to, run through different scenarios. We have security cameras in some of the parking lots of our sites that are available to us, right? So that we can see if we want to call law enforcement for any reason. These aren't cameras that are, available to anyone else. And so we've taken a number of steps so that we can try to ensure that we've done everything that we can to keep things safe. And fortunately, I haven't seen an impact on recruiting, so hopefully we continue to stay right knocking on the head. Did that answer? Great.
Anybody else? Raise your hand. Okay, there's one over here.
They're making you walk a lot today.
I'm getting my steps in.
Getting your steps in, yeah.
I'm wondering, I've been hearing a little bit about open primaries being talked about in Nevada, and I was just wondering if there's any hope of having open primaries.
So the question is whether or not we expect there to be open primaries in Nevada. For those of you who might not know what that is, in Nevada we are considered a closed primary state. So whatever your political party is, you show up to vote in person or you're going to vote by mail, you get the ballot of the party you are registered to, right? So if you're nonpartisan, you're going to get the ballot that only has nonpartisan races on it. Judges, city councils, mayors, that kind of thing. If you're a D or an R, you're going to get the ballot that only has that party's races on it. Open primary would be what it sounds like, where you can kind of vote for whoever. I don't know what's going to happen with that sort of effort. I know that we had a ballot question that included that did not pass, did not get through. But I think it is worth remembering that in Nevada, you can change your political party at any time, including when you show up at the polling place to vote.
That day.
As long as you have a valid ID, so if you have a driver's license or some other, Nevada ID that's from the DMV, and then, there's a couple other IDs. Well, you can change your party on election when you go to vote.
Okay, anyone else? Dan, a round of applause.
And don't go away. I have a question.
All right.
I actually want a statement. I was talking with one of the poll workers who opens mail ballots, and they had 2 ballots come in one envelope. And they ended up being the husband and wife, but the ballots in the same envelope. Please, people, don't do that, okay? But if that happened, what she told me was they ended up calling the person, saying one ballot, because your ballot matches the number on the envelope, correct? The ballot, there's 2 ballots coming in one envelope, and they were separated. They knew who the ballot was for that envelope, and they contacted the husband because the wife put his in it, and then he had to resubmit the ballot.
So you're hearing this secondhand, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in the scenario that, the scenario that he brought up was we receive a mail ballot envelope, and when we open it, there are 2 mail ballots in it. He was told that it was a husband-wife, and that somehow they knew which was which. So if we receive an envelope with 2 mail ballots in it, we're required by law to reject them. You cannot tell which ballot would go with that envelope, assuming those two people live together. They would be in the same precinct. There isn't anything on the ballot that helps us figure out whose ballot it is. The only thing would be the precinct, right? So if you live in the city of North Las Vegas, you live in a different precinct than someone who lives in the city of Las Vegas. I'm oversimplifying, but, you know, so our ballots would be different, right? Because mine might have City of Las Vegas, yours might have City of North Las Vegas mayor. But the scenario that you're describing is, I'm glad that you heard it secondhand, because it's not exactly, it's something that I would have more questions on. Okay.
And one last question. Are our elections secure? Because we believe that, hey, somebody is losing and going to say, you know, it was a rigged election. Are they secure?
So the question is, are the elections secure? And the answer is yes.
Thank you, Dan and Ashton. We really appreciate that. To let us know how I do have one last question. Suppose my neighbor is in the hospital. Can I go to the hospital and pick up her ballot and drop it off in the box or put it in the mail? Yes? Okay, so if your neighbor can't get there?
So a voter can have someone help them, you know, put their mail ballot in the mail or bring it in. But it's the voter that has to be the one that is behind that is making that decision, that's filling it out, putting it in the envelope, all that sort of thing. So, but yes, that is legally allowed in Nevada. Thank you.
Okay, going forward, this is August, so in September, we're going to put together something, so our next meeting is going to be a very pleasant one. We're going to have food, but at this juncture, I don't want to say what kind of food we're going to have. But it's party time, okay? It's definitely party time. Okay. We can change the date.
No, we cannot change the date. It is going to be Labor Day, September 7th. This is the only night that we can get the room here, so.
It is what it is. Okay. Do we have August birthdays? Raise your hand. Yay! Okay. Let's sing happy birthday to Miss, my buddy here, Sandy. So stand up, please. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sandy. Happy birthday to you. Val, you want to come up? Val. Val is from Red Rock Dance, and we want to give her the floor for a few minutes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Val Migliori, and I'm from the Red Rock Democratic Club. I am their engagement director. And we are having an interesting event, and it's going to be Sunday, August 16th, at the Sahara West Library from 12 to 3. And the event is a Nevada political trivia competition. So we're inviting Democratic clubs, nonpartisans, which is big for Red Rock Democratic Club, trust me. So you can make up your own teams. It could be a table of 4, it could be a table of 20, and even if you don't have a team coming from here, which I hope you do, we will allow you to join and make any team you want. So we anticipate we're going to have clubs and caucuses, all Democrats, nonpartisans, and we're going to see which club is the smartest club. Do you really have political knowledge to make you a good voter? So we invite you. There are little flyers here that are going to be passed out. I didn't print out enough for everybody, but if you go to the Red Rock Democratic Club website, you can buy a ticket there. The ticket's $20, and the reason we're doing it is because we noticed there were a lot of Democratic candidates that we still want to give money to. We just gave out $25,000 to a number of candidates, so we're raising a lot of money. We know what we're up against in terms of who's funding the Republicans. So we have to quickly try to think of ways to raise money. So I'm a retired educator, and I immediately said, we're going to do a trivia contest. So once again, it's from 12 to 3 at Sahara West Library. We will be selling nominally pizza, chocolate chip cookies, and mocktails. And we had someone come up with some great names for our mocktails, political names. Right after that, we're from 12 to 3. If you go to Indivisible events, their event is right after ours in the same room. So please join us. Please help raise money for our Democratic candidates who still need us to fund them. I would appreciate it. So thank you. And by the way, my first time here, it's wonderful. So, and I see familiar faces. So thank you.
Okay, tonight's 50-50 that we sold the ticket.
Let's hold off on that one. Yeah, the 50-50 is going to be going to the Clark County Dems, and we're going to be doing that for this meeting, the September meeting, and the October meeting. So we're going to gather all the money together and one donation to Clark County Dems. Okay, so just want to let you know where the 50-50 money is going to. We as a club cannot do what Red Rock Dems does and raise money. That's part of our thing in being in an association and everything. So they have to do the raising money. We can do it by a 50-50 and other things like that. That we say this money is going to such and such a person or such and such an organization, or it's coming to us in our club. And we do it both ways there. We'll hold off on picking them.
Okay. From the audience, yes, ma'am.
Could you talk a little bit about all this, everything that's going on about Mitch McConnell?
I do not have his phone number, and it seems that whoever's calling him, he's not answering the phone. I can't really talk to that because it's out of my hands.
If it was good news, they'd be happy to tell.
Yeah.
That's
No, I don't think he's in the Capitol. Well, I think when you vote at the Capitol, don't you have to, yeah, and they're not voting anyway.
But it just seems to me that somebody from the Democratic Party should have the ability to actually.
Well, the governor of Kentucky is Democrat, and he goes every day to say, where is it? He may not, it's not like he refuses, he may not be allowed to because of, yeah.
Yeah, but he's not voting in the Senate, so leave it alone.
Yeah, right, that's what they're hiding behind.
We have to recognize there are two sets of rules here, okay? You know,
Your rules and my rules.
who was Clinton brought on an airplane, the Attorney General, for a half an hour, and oh my God, it went out, it was major news for months, okay? How dare him do this? And here you've got Trump, you know, this whole slush fund thing there. All they have to do to get him approved is finally get him to sign, hey, you know, we're not going to have the slush fund and or a multi-million-dollar tax thing there that he can no longer be liable for any of his back taxes that he didn't pay. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. And, you know, I mean, this man, again, $5 million to, what's her name there, the sexual, Gigi Carroll. He refuses to pay that, even though he made over $2 million. Oh, we did pay it? Friday? Oh, okay. I'm behind the news. Yeah, but then, no, he tried to, now he's trying to get it back. Yeah, it was paid, it's put into a fund. No, but I mean, this is the insanity of this. And God forbid if Biden had ever done anything or said any of the things that our illustrious president says, that we would have been slammed in the media for days, weeks, months. Anyway, we have our Assemblywoman Shea Backus here. And speak for a couple of minutes, okay? I pulled that from your website.
Thank you, Nor. I'm so excited to be here. Good evening, Sun City Liberals. I feel like so a lot of people I do know from whether it was the first time I knocked doors in 2018 or throughout elections, but just for those new faces, because this club gets bigger and bigger each time I feel like I'm here or each campaign cycle. So a little about me, I have the privilege to serve Assembly District 37, which encompasses all of Sun City, Summerlin, Desert Shores, all the way out to Lone Mountain. And basically that's where it ends, and I have all the America West homes in between. But I'm a third generation Nevadan. I was born and raised right here in Las Vegas. I'm a product of our Clark County School District. One of my weaknesses is I'm a diehard Running Rebel basketball fan. They're not doing as well as they've done historically. But I've had the pleasure to serve 3 regular sessions in the Nevada legislature. I've led the last 2 sessions chairing revenue and vice chairing Ways and Means. So I've had my work cut out for me because everything that happened by the Trump administration with the HR 1, or what he dubs the One Big Beautiful Bill, we've had to come and clean it up. And so I want to share with you all, because at least one thing I learned tonight, and I already knew it, our elections are safe and sound, and I'm so glad you all were educated to hear all of the nuances, because those are things that are under attack. But I'm still not certain what's going on with Mitch McConnell. So tonight was very but what I want to share is, because I think having knowledge is power. In this election cycle, my seat is a swing seat. You all see all the signs when you drive through Sun City. You know this is a hard seat for me to maintain. But I get up and I do it every election cycle, and I keep performing a little better each cycle, and that's to people like you having those conversations. So thank you for doing that. Last election cycle, we knew the cost of living for Nevadans is just getting out of control. And so we go each session to do good things for Nevadans, whether it's addressing lowering the cost of housing, making housing more accessible to folks. We had passed the cycle before to only allow the rent for seniors to increase by 5%, which is not out of the ordinary. It's what's done on the federal level, but those are things that Lombardo had vetoed. I also carried a bill to make sure that all students are entitled to a free lunch. It wasn't going to cost the state that much, but Governor Lombardo vetoed it in 2023 and then sent us a budget that was at $300 million in the deficit budget, so we couldn't do anything last session but cut, because we didn't have a balanced budget. One thing I'm really proud of that I was able to do was to pass a bill to address prior authorizations. For example, insurance carriers mandated if you are a pregnant woman that's high risk, you had to get prior authorization to get diabetic test strips, even though you may be subjected to diabetes. So there was a list of things that I was able to negotiate to make sure just to get rid of some of those barriers that delayed medical care. So I'm really proud of what I've done. I'm excited to go back to Carson City and continue to do the work that I've done, whether it's investing in our public education, continuing the fight, and putting a bill to address some needs that are medical school needs because of a lot of cuts that happened in HR 1 through the Trump administration that needs to be addressed, whether it's finding a way to create our own loans as a state to students so that they come to UNLV. The goal is for them to stay, do a residency, so we have more doctors here. So I'm really excited about my race. If you're interested, feel free to access my website. It's Backus for Nevada. On there you can email me if you want signs. I see Alan, I probably never picked up my sign. I probably got to see if he needs another sign. but I'm willing that my husband will always install signs because I know that ground is very difficult to put a campaign sign in. So we're willing to do that. Feel free to ask Warren for my cell phone. It's the only cell phone that I have. I'm also a lawyer part-time. You can use it. You can call me if you have any questions. I like to be an open book and make sure I'm able to represent you all in Carson City. So thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you for voting.
Anybody have any questions? Any concerns? Yeah, you know, we have a big fight. You know, I look at that my father and our fathers, and maybe some people, I don't think we have any World War II vets here, but we fought anti-fascism. You know, and now all of a sudden, anti-fascism, Antifa, anti-fascism is a dirty word. You know, I can't figure out how that is. You know, all of a sudden, and, you know, we're all communists and everything else like that. And it's the same pattern that goes over and over and over again. And it's sort of like, you know, I heard it on today. The Democrats come in, like under Clinton, we end up getting a balanced budget, and the Republicans come in, and you know, all of a sudden, all how fluid, everything is all crazy again, and then the Democrats come in and fix it again. But the Republicans have a mind-boggling machine that just sort of hypnotizes people and creates a cult situation. You want to say something, Eric?
Yeah, 250 years ago we fought a king too, so we don't have another damn king.
No kings except for Elvis, right? Yeah. No kings in Nevada except for Elvis, yes. I don't know. All I know is that it's there. You know, I have not talked with her directly about that. I have concerns, being an RN, about the health care that you know, somebody who shoots or kills bears and you know, other kind of you know, organs from various animals and smokes, takes cocaine off toilet seats and everything else like that. And you know, how can you talk about DEI? You know, we're only going to put the best people in, you know. Look at who's in controlling our federal government. Crazy. Anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent. We want to, Dave, you want to, Shay, would you be fair and pick out a ticket here? Oh, we can't trust you, Dave. How much is it this time?
The winner will receive $96 tonight. Somebody threw that in there.
727437.
All right. And the other half is going to
The same amount will go to Clark County Jails.
That's the only way that we can raise money for, you know, legally here. Everybody have a wonderful week. Keep motivated, keep positive. Don't believe half of the stuff that is coming out of the outside. Have a good night, everybody.